Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Joshua Suliruka here, your host of the Impact Podcast Show. Now today, I've got a massive special guest here on the other side of this Zoom call. But before I do share, I love to state two things to you guys. The first thing I want to do is I want to say thank you. I love the fact that we have the Impact community tuning into this podcast episode. But guys, if you're listening to this through Spotify or Apple Podcasts, I want to say thank you. But I also want to be saying thank you to those out there that are watching this podcast episode, through our YouTube channel. And so, guys, make sure that you guys like this video. If you guys are getting, some value and you're receiving some gems, comment your thoughts. We'd love to see where you guys are at and what you think about the podcast episode that we're doing today. But most importantly, fam, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Click on that bell button for the latest updates on our next video. And so that's the first thing I want to say. And the second thing I want to say to you is I'd love to state our mission, and our mission is simple. Our mission is to focus on impacting the one. And so, guys, if you're getting impacted by this podcast, I fully encourage you to share this to someone else that can benefit from this, because remember, it only takes one person to change someone's life, and that could possibly be you. And that would be cool. And so that is the two things I wanted to mention, but now I get the honor and privilege to get straight into this podcast episode. Now, I do have my special guest on the other side, but before I do, I want to give you guys a bit of context as to who he is, why I got him here, and how, in my opinion, the massive tons of value that he's going to provide for you all. So long story short, me being a typical, high school student, I went to high school. For me, I wasn't really that bad kid. I wasn't really much of a bad kid. But Joe Tao, he's actually one of the guys that I bumped into through high school. And I'll never forget the conversation that he had with me at one stage. He came up to me and he's like, "Hey man, like, what's your name?" And I'm like, "Oh, my name's Josh." And then the first thing I said to myself is like, "Why are you talking to me?" So first thing I said, I was like, "Why are you talking to me? Like, don't you?" This is like my stereotypical way of thinking. And I said, "I don't know why you're talking to me. I'm not the bad one, right?" Like, that's pretty much my attitude. That was my attitude as of that time. And I already knew that Joe already knew that about me. He already knew that I was a good boy, or that I was already on the right path. And so there was a program that he ran in the when I was in high school. It was called the Beacon Program. And I was fortunate enough to be invited to one of the Beacon Program. And a lot of people don't know this. My eagerness and my catalyst to get into helping young people, and also doing the job that I do right now, which is being a wellbeing officer at a primary school, actually stemmed from this man right here. And he doesn't know that. He didn't know that at all. But it actually stemmed from him actually reaching out to me and showing me what he'd done. I was fully like mesmerized and like empowered by what he did, the way they communicated with his with us as students, but most importantly, just his passion to help other people. And so the reason why I actually wanted to get him on here is because he's one of the many people that's actually impacted me to be the man I am right now. As you guys are aware, if you guys don't know, I'm actually a fatherless, young man. And, Joe Tao, I see him as one of the many guys, or the many older men out there that I see as one of those figures in my life. And so I'm so excited to get into this podcast. I know I can talk for long, but this podcast isn't about me. It is about my special guest over here. So guys, I love you all. So please welcome to the Impact Podcast Show, Mr. Joe Tao.
Hey Josh, man. Thank you, Josh, man. What an introduction, man. But first things first, man, thank God for everything, everything that we have and everything that we've had, and crossing our paths, and if I've impacted you in some ways, because God put me in your path, you know what I mean? And I had something that I needed to drop off to you, and it's the same thing as what you got to drop off to so many more, young Joshes and young Joes out there. So, yeah, thank you for the introduction, but at the same time, man, all glory to God, for what we have. So, yeah, thank you for having me on here, Josh. And, man, it's been about a month now since we've caught up again.
Yeah,
it's been inspirational. Yeah, been inspirational and just real encouraging. Being able to catch up with you and what I do and what I've done and how we cross paths, and to see that you're in the serving game too, So thank you again, Josh, for having me, and I look forward to what's ahead for us in our conversations, and definitely be able to just be open and share and drop some gold, man, so people can pick it up and put it in their mouth and have a nifo cola. No.
Oh yeah, nah, man, I'm so pumped, bro. Like, I'm so pumped, man. Like, so for those out there, like, me and Joe been like connecting, probably for a good solid month, just like talking away, and I just said, man, the story that he has to share to you all is very impacting. I only just found out, probably like a month ago on his story, and I said, you know what, I want to get him onto the podcast. He was already on my mind on jumping on, but like, to hear his story, and I already know people are going to be impacted by this. I knew straight away that, man, people need to hear his story. And so, yeah, man, I want to say thank you for taking out your time. I know that time is valuable, not only just for yourself, but, for me too. And so I guess we'll get straight into it. I know that there are people out there, that are probably tuning on, that are from your family or your friends, or even just possibly the kids that you've impacted. But we do have a impact family, or the impact community, that do listen to this on a weekly basis. And so, Joe, is there any chance that you can possibly share a bit about who you are?
Yeah, man. So my name is Joseph Tau. People call me Joe. If you know me from New Zealand, people call me Fish. I guess if you know me in my earlier days in church in Australia, JT. But yeah, man, just been in school. I guess I was New Zealand born, Samoan, born in Wellington in 1977. Wow, a long time ago. And but I grew up in Auckland. I grew up in East Auckland, a place called Ellerslie. And I come from a Samoan family, very traditional and very cultural. Grew up in the Catholic Church. My mum is Kalala Malai Sala Tau, and my dad Fatu Latina Levanga Tau, and they're both passed. They've moved on to heaven. They've got their graduation certificates, so they're up there looking down. And I'm the third in family of four. Yeah, and two older sisters and a younger brother. And we'll also have extended family cousins that are also classed as my sisters and my brother, and they live in Melbourne. And I'm a father of two beautiful children, Jets, who's 13 years old, and Dallas, my daughter, who is 9, and they both go to school here in Sydney. Currently, I live in Wentworthville, but every time someone asks me where you're from, I always say Blacktown. I spent many years in Blacktown, and Blacktown's my heart. I guess Josh's Fairfield would be yours. Yeah, man, but I guess Sydney's home for me. I'm the only one in Sydney. Most of my family are in New Zealand, and she's. I first came to Australia in 1999. So I first came over on a opportunity to play rugby league. So in New Zealand, I grew up in Auckland. When it came to sports, I like heaps of sports, but I was good at rugby, and something that I really was passionate about in high school was rugby, or rugby league. And I went to a Catholic school where it was more focused on rugby union, but I still played rugby league. And just sticking with that, I got given an opportunity in 1999 to come over with about 10 other boys, and it was one of those things. There were guys coming to play football, but I guess we had an opportunity to come together. We based out in the country, played in the Riverina in Group 20 for a club called Naranja, and we came in 1999, and that year was amazing. Yeah, it was everything, 4 seasons and in the whole season. It was just, you know, just a lot of learning, you know, independence and just culture, you know, a bit of change of culture, and yeah, and footy, obviously. But yeah, we won that competition in 1999.
Oh, yo.
And, you know, yeah, we came over and it was awesome. And like the ones that I came over and played with, yeah, you know, we don't see each other as much as we want to. But, you know, that's a brotherhood that I'll never forget. Very close to my heart, and you know, learned a whole lot of things with them. And I guess we were scattered or older and having families and that kind of stuff. But yeah, social media sort of, you know, allows us to be able to keep in touch, but, you know, not as often as we do. But like, it's just good to you know, to have done that, you know, that life with them. And yeah, and I went back and forth a few times. Playing football, came to Australia and went back to New Zealand, came to Australia, came back to New Zealand and came back to Australia. But it was sort of like God telling me, hey, you know, come back here. And when I went back, if you're awkward, you come back. And went back and I came back, you know, and I came back and like, you know, and I'm here, you know. Yeah, I'm a youth worker. I'm currently working in high schools around New South Wales. I work with an awesome team, an organisation called Creating Chances. At the same time, I have my own stuff going. Is like something that I did when I met Josh. Yeah, a lot of programs. Yeah, I don't know what a title would be. Yeah, youth worker, mentor, program facilitator. But yeah, for me, it's not a job. It's life. You know, they say when you find something that you love doing, it's not work. You know, and it's one of those things. And growing up as a kid, I struggled in school. Yeah, really struggled in school, man. So I guess it's not so much school wasn't for me. It's just that, you know, I learned differently. You know, it wasn't until I was much older that I understood that. You know, and you know, getting put back in classes in primary school and that kind of stuff, and then carried into high school and being in alternative classes and that. But like at the same time, it was the best thing for me, you know. And I wouldn't change anything. But like to understand, you know, that the school always is trying to do the best for the student, and that's something that helps me do what I do, because I run into a whole lot of jokes, you know. Some kids who might struggle at the academics but have skills in other areas, and like, you know, just try and help them. Like, because one thing that it did for me, I guess, jumping a bit, is like it really, my confidence in all of the things is like, you know, I can't do that because I'm not bright enough. So, you know, to run into other kids who have that thing, and I love it because I'm able to share with them. Right, you know, there's nothing wrong with you. You know, it's just we're different. You know, and and that's it. You know, that differences make us stronger. You know, if we're all the same, man, it'd be pretty, you know, pretty weird, pretty funny, but pretty boring at the same time. But yeah, that's and now it's funny because having that sort of upbringing in school is sort of like, now God's put me back in high school, you know, and my family and friends are like, this guy didn't even go to school, just went for lunchtime to play rugby and league and that, and, you know, and that kind of stuff. And now he's back in schools actually teaching kids, you know, and it's, you know, only God can do that, you know, and it's always been like that for me, and I'll never to say it's anything else. You know, God can take a mess and turn it into a message, you know, as awesome creators, you know, and you know, and it is, man. So yeah, very blessed to be doing what I'm doing. But at the same time, like I said, it's not a job, it's a life.
Yeah.
So it's life for me. And you know, yeah, I'd love to be, you know, academically qualified, but you know, I think my journey has qualified me in so many ways, you know, with experience and that, to be able to do what I do and share what I can. But yeah, man. So yeah, the biggest thing for me in my life was my kids, and you know, and one thing I guess with them is that I can't do what I do unless I try and do with them first, and it's been a bit of a journey because things have changed for my family, for my kids, and so but at the same time, it's part of life, and it's God's word says, when things don't go your way, be excited, there's a chance for you to exercise your faith.
Yeah.
And it is really, walking in faith it's not an easy thing, especially when it's not something that you see, you can't see the future. But that's what faith is, You walk by faith and not by sight. Yeah. So yeah, man. So I work right now in a different number of high schools every year. So this term, I'm in 2, 4, 8 high schools.
Yeah, wow.
And just doing different programs, sports mentoring through with creating chances, and I have my little business. It's called One Love Mentoring. Sort of opens doors for me to be able to go into schools and do some stuff like cultural stuff, like working with the Pacific Island kids, and and it's not so much trying to turn them into like harder islanders and say this, you got to learn your language and all this kind of stuff, but it's encouraging them, to have them understand that they have a culture and they belong to a family, and we do have values, and a way of life, and a lot of it's, I won't say a lot of it, all of it's built on respect and love, and our faith as well. So so being able to do that and just share, I guess we all learn in different ways. We see things different ways and we accept things in different ways, live with things in different ways. So I'm still in the game, been in the games for over 10 years now. So I must be doing something right.
Yeah. Legit.
You must be doing something right. So yeah, man. So I guess that's sort of me, and in a bit of a nutshell, like I guess sharing a bit more my passion with my kids, man. Jets is 13 years old, and he's a handsome man. He's a handsome young man, and he's got a good heart, man. Good heart for people. And my girl Dallas, she's just so creative, so energetic, man. And I really look forward to what's ahead for them, And I'm just, but at the same time, all my students, man, I just love them the same as my kids,
Yeah.
Just try and give them everything that I can, that I have, advice and wisdom. But at the same time, I guess the best stuff we can do is just walk our talk, It's not easy. No one's perfect. Just man, just living life, man, the best that I can, and I was very, God's timing. He's crossed our paths for a reason, Josh.
Yeah.
And it's not just you. There's other people as well. So it's other friends and other families. So man. So so with you from here, man, or whatever you want to ask, man, I'm willing to share. So if I can inspire and encourage someone with this, man, let's do it.
Yeah, sweet, man. Now I want to say thank you, bro. Like, thank you for just I guess getting into real context and explaining real thoroughly, getting real deep into exactly, who you are. It actually helped me, as a podcast host. I've got like, so many questions just from, hearing, things like, upbringing, you coming from, New Zealand and even that, like, back in 99, coming here first year here and you win a premiership, which is crazy. You got all these things. And so I guess what I want to do right now is I want to get straight into it. One thing I believe in, I fully believe in this saying of, before the glory, there's always a story. And I believe that, you, Joe, you have a massive, story and testimony that I believe that other people have probably impacted. I think one thing that we both can relate to is that we love helping people. But the one thing that we kind of not really have much of a opportunity to do is really focus on ourselves, to have that opportunity to, share, I guess, where our heart's at or our vision or whatever we do, because we're just in a place of serving other people. And so this is your time, this is the time where I get to, really get into, depth as to, who Joe is and, why he does what he does. And, and then after that, sharing into, what is to come in the future. And so I guess the first thing I want to do is I want to get into like, how it was for Joe growing up. Because I know that you mentioned about the academic side, that was something that you'll find like that you're finding hard growing up. Did you want to kind of start from there, growing up and I guess having challenges in school?
Yeah, man. I guess I always thought I wasn't bright enough, But then when you grow up and you understand, everyone's just different, man. But I guess as a kid, a lot of the time, getting into trouble and stuff, and man, got into a lot of trouble. But it's funny. I was born in Wellington, so this is what I know. I've been told by family and that. So I was born in Wellington, and I think it was like a few months later, I was on the plane to Samoa with my grandparents. So I was meant to be brought up there by my grandparents, and apparently I fell sick after a year or so, and one of my uncles was there, and he went back and he told my dad, the son's not in good shape, man. You gotta do something or something. So he came over and he came and got me, and So apparently I was just getting eaten alive by the bugs, because I guess I'm just one of those dudes with a certain blood that the bugs like, and I was in the hospital bed next to my mum as she was about to have my brother, and I think I was just 2 years old at the time, but they had moved up to Auckland by then. And then from there I just grew up in Auckland. Didn't get along well with my siblings or my sisters, my two older sisters. Yeah, we used to fight all the time and that kind of stuff. And I guess my brother, my little brother, growing up, we all tried to look after him the best we could and stuff. But I did a whole lot of things on my own. Just a bit of a loner sort of thing maybe. And I had friends and that kind of stuff, but I guess I think there was a lot of no understanding. I didn't understand a lot. I guess I didn't understand what my parents were telling me. I didn't understand what people would say to me. And I'll be one of those kids just smile and then nod. Just smile and nod. I remember.
And it's not going in, eh?
Yeah. And one word, I think it was the first Samoan word I ever learned was kailo. So kailo means I don't know. And my mom and dad would be like, who smashed the window out? Like, I don't know, kailo. And then well, who done this? And I'll be like, kailo. And then they would say stuff like, are you stupid? And I'm like, kailo. Next thing and all they Samoan, there's funky lines, and I'll be like, kailo. But yeah, man, I just got into a lot of trouble, like just doing things that I didn't understand. And growing up and still doing things. I was just, I guess, getting into a lot of trouble and not understanding why. just led to me being angry, for getting in trouble, getting hiding all the time, getting blamed for this and that, and, But it's funny, as kids do, you put stuff on your siblings, and it's like, when you get a hiding, and then, your dad or your mom calls the other sibling and goes, "Hey, go outside and give me a brush." It depends, if your sibling likes you, they'll go out and get a little stick. These dudes, man, they ain't got the biggest thing, but yeah. But, that's just a part of life and growing up. And so, yeah, I just, I had friends at church and that kind of stuff and boys. But yeah, I just thought differently, and yeah, at the same time, a lack of understanding with anger. Oh, it's a bad combination. And growing up as a teenager and just doing things, man, like, without thinking and just, not so much hanging around with the wrong crowd. I think I was the wrong crowd, just if I was out, with the boys, I'll be the one, doing something stupid, and it's just that. And, I got some boys, at home and, it's sort of like we talked about the future and what we're going to do. One was going to be a lawyer, another one a bank manager, the other one, in a nightclub, and then and me probably be in jail, or dead, just from doing stupid stuff, But but I guess at the same time, those are all my lessons. Those are the things that I learned from. I guess that's what helps. Me with what I do. Being that angry kid, I know what it's like when I engage with an angry kid. And a lot of stuff, man, is it's not so complicated. It's common sense. So sometimes people just make it too complicated. And it's it's I guess everyone's different in their thought process. But if a kid does something wrong, they did something wrong because something's not right. You know what I mean? And a lot of the time it's just, no, the kid's a bad kid. There's no bad kid, man. We just make bad choices. And I guess for me, I made bad choices because I didn't understand.
Yeah.
I didn't understand certain things. So, yeah, there's no bad kid, in my books. We all do things for some reason. Either we're angry or maybe we know or we don't know, but it's just a choice that we made, but the choice comes from somewhere, from, our values. What are the things we value? What are the things most important to us? So, and a lot of the time it's just a cry for help, cry for attention. It's so easy for us to be able to think, nah, they just want attention, but they need attention, then give them attention, find out what it is, But yeah, so, and yeah, that was me, man. And in school, just running, had fun and all that kind of stuff. I got kicked out of school. I got asked to not come back, actually. But it's funny because, like the culture stuff, like I don't, as much as people think, because I run a Pacific Island program, I'm really handies on the knowledge and all that kind of stuff, but it's not like that. It's my passion. It's my passion for it, because I understand, I can see the value and I can see the things that, are good that can help us, and that's the things that I'm trying to focus on. Like, like Kirikiki. I'll take Samoan cricket and people think, oh yeah, that's cool. They're playing the Yellow Lovers, and because we did that at Fairfield. I remember. But it's just the stuff in the game. It's like Kirikiki or cricket, Samoan cricket is not just a game. It's like, we have fun, and it's like the bats. They say, so these are the things that I learned while I was in church playing cricket. So we weren't allowed to, stand on the bats, drop the bats, or chuck the bats, because they looked at it as sacred, certain things. And they said, if you look after the bat will look after you, and then translating that stuff to everything else is like, if you look after your family and friends, they'll look after you. if you look after your books and that they'll last longer and they'll look after you. You know what I mean? And just all the goodness in our culture. You know, trying to share that. So yeah, and yeah, man. But not just the Pacific Island kids. I guess yeah. I guess, you know, I might talk about the things that wasn't able to do, but some things that I'm quite good at is like my daughter, quite creative. You know, I guess I can't read and I can't see. I can read like now, but you know, I can't spell for days. But at the same time, I use it as like a tool. You know, if I put a word up like attitude, I can't remember if the first T is two T's or the one T, and I'll write it up, and then the kid will be like, "Hey Joe, it's two T's." I'm like, "Thanks, man. I appreciate that." So I use it as you know, it's not a negative; it's a positive. It's a way that someone can help me to help them. You know, so and like with that, I'm good with words, acronyms. You know, like Beacon. You know, be encouraged to achieve change and overcome negativity. You know, is something. Even my son's name, his name is Jets, and he's named after me and my boys, Joe, Esera, Tavita, and Samoa. You know,
Oh wow,
just little things like that. And yeah, man. But at the same time, it's meaning. They're not just words. They're trying to put it into meaning. Like I think one of the latest ones of one of my programs is called Smash, and it's a training program to help, you know, strengthen mentality as well. But that SMASH, the acronym, was strong minds and strong hearts. You know, so yeah, I guess I have those gifts, you know, that some other people may not have. So, but being able to use those things, yeah, man. And I wasn't one that, you know, was looking at going to uni or that kind of stuff. But you know, I'll tell you, man, I wanted to be a cop. Yeah, I wanted to be a cop, and there was a certain point, and I remember getting pulled over. I was driving home from work. I ended up working with my dad after I finished school, and I was driving his van home from work. I got pulled over by the cops, and then, you know, I just asked him, "Hey man, I want to be a cop. Do you reckon this will interfere with my chances?" And he just cracked up at me. You know, I just thought, "Oh, that's cool." But that's something that I wanted to do. You know, as much as I was, you know, making a lot of mistakes and running amok and that kind of stuff, I really wanted to do good. You know, I wanted to be something good or someone good. You know, and yeah. And I guess going into my teens and finishing school and that kind of stuff, one thing that I could do was play football. You know, and yeah, even growing up in high school, I wasn't the biggest. I played hooker halfback in the juniors, and I remember my dad. He said to me, "You're not playing," and I said, "How come?" And he's like, "Because you're too small. You're gonna get smashed." I was like, "Okay," and just Joe being Joe, I just never listened. I just went and did it, you know. And I just thought, okay. And hooker halfback, I just picked up some skills, some you know, ball playing skills and that kind of stuff. A bit of a step here and there. And as I grew up, I got bigger, you know. I was able to take those skills into running as a prop or running as a second row. Yeah, and but it was. I think a lot of the time I took a lot of those disappointments and took them to heart. You know, and people might say, "Yeah, you just feel sorry for yourself or whatever," but it's sort of like when one comes after another and after another after another, it sort of like takes its toll, you know. And and I guess just being real, you know, I had a real positive influence in my life, and he played football, and I just watched him, and I just wanted to be him, you know. And his name was Mike. I just wanted to be that dude, you know. And he's such a good player and such a good dude. And I remember at the age of 18, I actually had my first grade game, and I was working with my dad, and there were some guys there that were running a social football team. We played on Sundays. They asked me, "Oh, do you want to play?" And I said, "Okay, I'll come and play." And then they saw something in me, and then they said, "Oh, come to this club and play for the senior Bs." And there was still a young kid, and then the team that I played in was like men who were past the first grade. There's like, and it was a drinking team, and they drank, and then I got into that stuff, and I remember the first grade coach saw me playing in the team, and he said, "Come and have a run with the first grade." And I thought to myself, "Oh yeah, cool." And I thought, I'm just like Mike. I've made it, This was like in New Zealand. It's like in Auckland, anyways. It was like, wow. And then I told my dad, and it was I said, I'm playing here. I've made this team. Yeah, and then the day came, and we played, and the whole time, man, I was looking around for him like this, and I was looking around for him, and he didn't turn up. And then I went home, and this 18-year-old dude just walked in the lounge and just asked him, "Hey, I had my game today." And he was like, "Oh," and I go, "Where were you?" And he was like, "Oh, I went to collect the money for the tote tickets." And I was like, my heart broke, and everything just stopped. And yeah, man, and that was a changing point in my life. It was, and like it's I'm not downing my dad. I guess later on in life, I had questions for him. I go, "Why were you the way you were?" And then he shared with me that I was the hardest kid. He didn't know what to do with me, But it was just it was a lack of understanding from both sides. That he needed to understand how I learned. You know what I mean? It's like love language. It's like I have a certain love language, but he wasn't catering for that. He was speaking another language. And yeah, well, that was then, but it was a changing point in my life. And then from there, I took it to another level. I didn't listen to no one. I just tried to drink everything. Like I said, if you know me from New Zealand, people call me fish, And I just thought I had a point to prove. I had to be the one that drank everything, or did stupid stuff and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, and a whole lot of stuff after that. But like, it was school of hard knocks, Josh.
Yeah,
and I put myself in that. I had to. Yeah, I think I didn't allow my dad to be the father that he wanted to be because of my actions. But you know what it is? It's that word understanding. I don't know if I shared with you, Josh, but like, they're so powerful, that word, because if you take those two words, under and stand, it's about humility. You know what I mean? If you want to receive something, you have to lower yourself. You know what I mean? You have to, especially if you believe God's blessings come from above, you need to lower yourself, because the opposite of understanding is standing over. You can't receive anything. And that's it. I didn't understand my dad, so I wasn't, and my dad didn't understand me. And it's like, yeah, that's so important. I guess, going back to those kids that run amok or get in trouble, you need to understand where they were or where they came from, why they did what they did. Otherwise, you're gonna miss the whole thing. You won't be able to connect. And it's everything that's joined to this is like, communication. You can't communicate with someone unless you connect with them. It's a phone. You call the number. If they don't answer, you can't communicate. You know what I mean? You have to make the connection. They have to answer your call. You know what I mean? They have to say, "Okay, I receive." Then connect and you can communicate. So it's just a whole lot of that stuff that wasn't, that wasn't in place. And like, at the time being angry at my dad and that kind of stuff. It wasn't his fault, you know. He was brought up a certain way, you know. He had to, you know, he was thrown in the deep end a lot as well. I guess for a lot of our parents or our grandparents, you know, coming from another country and just like, you know, okay, cool, and being told this is your job, you're gonna do this, you know, and you finish that time and you start this time, you know, and I think back, damn, imagine being in his shoes.
Yeah.
You know, and I always think about that with my kids, you know, and yeah, it's not that I don't want to be the father that my father wasn't for me. It's just that I'm going to be the father that I'm meant to be.
100%.
You know, I learned from my dad through his actions, but like, you know, at the same time, we all learn differently. And I guess for his words to be delivered to me, I didn't receive because of maybe the connection wasn't there.
Yeah.
Or I just turned it off, you know. But like, I watched him, you know, and I learned humility, I learned patience, you know, and I learned hard work, and I learned like a grinder, you know. And when, you know, maybe that day I didn't communicate properly with him to give him the opportunity to understand what I was doing on that day when I played that game. You know what I mean? Yeah. So we live and we learn. Yeah. We live and we learn, man. And yeah, that's a powerful memory. And as I may have looked at it, and people might see that as a negative, man. You know, it's a message in the mess. You know what I mean? It is, man. It's a message in the mess. So yeah, and I just, you know, give back to God. You know, yeah. We can only do so much, but yeah. So and it was funny, man, because around that time as well, I just got into a lot of trouble just doing things that when I was angry. My parents put me on a one-way ticket to Samoa.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, around that time, I think it was just before. You know, guess where they sent me? To the same place.
So you probably got sick again.
Nah, man, I just. Why did you send me here? You know, but it was one of those things because I'm all right with my hands, and like, you know, they wanted me to help build a house over there, but it was just a whole different thing. It was a Samoan house, so yeah, I went there, and a week thing, and I pretty much did those ones. I'm just gonna go up the road. Yeah, just gonna go up the road, and I jumped on the boat and went to the other island.
Oh no!
Yeah, man, that was me. I was like, I just really didn't give a care, man. You know, I was just that angry kid, you know, just trying to, you know, life set my feet. I'm like, damn, you know, I'm just, you know, at the same time, you know, probably thinking, you know, no one cares about me. I'll just do what I want to do, you know. And yeah, I remember taking off after a week, and I ended up staying at another uncle's house in a certain village, and he was helping the church there, so he was serving in the church. I think I stayed with him for a week, and I said, oh yeah, I'll be back. Yeah, and so one of my aunties who was there, and she was working in the city, and I ran into her. I think I was looking out for her, but she took me in, and yeah, she was so good. I spent like a few weeks there, but like I was just the kid who was just like, damn, in a country. I didn't know much about, you know, anything. I was in that party zone, and that's what I was doing, just walking to the gym every day, and then come to nighttime, I would try and go look for whatever, a club or a bar or something like that. And she came home one day and she said, oh yeah, here's your plane ticket. And I go, what's that? She goes, you're going home. You're going to get killed here. You know? And she was like, it's not good, And I thought, oh yeah, okay, cool. So yeah, knocked on the door, man, and my mom was like, "Hey," just swinging her head off. She's like, "Oh man, have you changed your ways?" And I'm like, "I don't know, I don't know. I think so." But yeah, I guess it just took my cockiness to another level because I thought, yeah. But yeah, I can say, man, uh, a lot of good things that I've done, is always through God. But all the lessons have come through hardship,
Yeah.
And the hardship came from myself most of the time, from my decisions and that kind of stuff. And I thought I was a confident dude. A lot of the time I was running on fear. It was sort of like, I got to do this, otherwise, I'm not tough.
Yeah.
I got to do that, otherwise. Everything was a challenge. Go out. Oh yeah, I bet you I can get that girl. I bet you I can talk to her. I bet you I can drink the most at the party. All that stuff, man. But yeah, it's funny, and I'm sure everyone, that's got a story of goodness, has another different story to share about it.
Hard out.
Yeah, man. Blessings, they always come in nice packages, man. And yeah, so yeah, this is good. I really appreciate this, Josh, because it's given me an opportunity to just to let some air out, in a good environment, in a positive, safe, environment to be able to share. I know I'm sharing with you, but a lot of people will watch this and hear this. Put judgment on it, but like, it is what it is.
Hard out, man.
It is what it is, and just take what you can from it, because nothing good comes easy. That's one thing that I would take that my dad said to me. He said, "Joe, which means nothing good will come easy. You have to struggle for it, And I've learned that. But at the same time, trying to pass that knowledge that came from so many mistakes, But it's funny, like when I share certain lessons in classes, there's one that I always share is like, if you walk down the road or you walk on your way to school and you fall over a brick, you pick yourself up, and then you keep going. And then the next day you wake up and you're on your way to school and you fall over that brick again, you pick yourself up and you keep going. And then you do it the next day. And then it's sort of like, what should you do in order for your situation to change tomorrow? And then they're like, move the brick. A lot of the time we pick ourselves up, but we don't pick up the lesson. We don't pick up the thing that's tripped us over. We move it. Sometimes it's heavy, and that brick could be our friends. That brick could be, something that looks good, but it's not good for you. Sometimes you need help to move that brick, and it's that's one thing that I can say that I've done. Sometimes I've had to go down that lane a few times in order for me to move that brick. But I'm sure I would have built a big house by now. Man. So, as a teenager, I guess going back to football, man, one thing I could do is play, but at the same time, I guess we all wish we could do things, go back and do it again, do it again. But I think I just ran more on talent than anything else. I didn't really invest in myself as much as I could have. But that comes down to understanding.
Yeah.
Understanding if you want something, there's a whole lot of building you got to do. Commitment. planning, and getting yourself to the gym and that kind of stuff, and surrounding yourself with the right people, talking, getting a mentor, just the whole of the stuff, man. But and at the same time, I pulled myself away from my family. Over the years as a kid, even in school, I didn't always live at home. I lived with family and friends. I was keen, whether I'd go and live with my uncle and auntie because it was closer to school, but at the same time, it was maybe my parents just saying, I've had enough, can't stay over there, and then other times I just ran away, I just ran away. But I think about it sometimes, even as a young kid, watching my kids and my sons, certain things, back then, I learned how to cross the street, as a young kid, man. I'll just get up, run outside and then go to the shops or, go to a friend's house and spend the whole day there, and then come home and sometimes it was like my parents didn't even know I was gone. I would be gone for the whole day. But man, just just a whole lot of goodness, but coming from a whole lot of badness. It's funny, a whole lot of mistakes. Yeah, a whole lot of mistakes. And I guess we can say I wish I could go back and do it again. But I guess the choice that you make is the choice that you make. Yeah. At those times. And one thing I heard and really caught me was be the person that you wish you had when you were young. You know what I mean? And I think that there's something that, but it goes both ways, because there were also people in my life. I had older cousins who really helped me, especially with things like gangs. I've never been in a gang. I'm not one to sort of cling to a group. They taught me how to, I guess I did it my way, to stand on my own 2 feet, and not have to rely on a group of people, to have my back. There have been moments where my boys have been there for me and that kind of stuff. But it's been a blessing. I've met people just along the way that I've worked with that have just, advised me, and at the same time, I guess we all do it. And back then, it was I had a heart for the younger people, even though I was running amok. I had a heart for my brother, and I had a heart for my little cousins and nephews or guys at the church. But it was one of those things, do what I say and not what I do. You know what I mean? Let me be the guinea pig, but at the same time, I wasn't a guinea pig for everything. A lot of them had to learn their ways as well. I was very blessed to, have people in my life and I guess, not family by blood, but family by love, and and I still have them in my lives, and very grateful for the things that they've shared with me. But and I guess this one thing is not doing my own thing and not so much with my family as much as I should have been, but it sort of, I learned to not rely on them, but I'm more, I guess you can say, I'm more reliant on my friends. I know my friends will be there, more than, but it's not the case. It's just what I experienced. Yeah. You know what I mean? It was just my thoughts. Oh, my dad's not there for me, but he was there for me. You know what I mean? my family wasn't there for me, but they were there for me. But it was just me pushing myself away, you know. So, but yeah, just and that was a whole lot of lessons in that, you know, with friends and learning as well. You know, your friends come and go. You know, there's a Samoan proverb that's in the Bible as well. In the Bible, it's like friends are there sort of every day, but your brother's there for times of hardship. You know what I mean? So, and it is like, you know, the experience of your family are always there, you know, and your friends, and even yourself as a family member, and myself as a friend. It's like, you know, we're there as much as we can say boys. And I guess that's another thing that we take that word uso or toko, you know, and it's take it quite literally. That's the word, but like, you know, it's sort of like a Facebook friend, you know. Yeah, and like, you know, and day ones, you know what I mean. Yeah, that's my day one. Yeah, actually, working in high schools, man, and you know, you hear the kids and they're like, "Yeah, it's my brother." You know, it's my day one. Oh yeah, cool. They get in trouble. Where's your day one? I think he's on day 3. Yeah, but yeah, I guess growing up, you know, and it's funny, just little things. Even as I grew up, if I came over here for a contract and I went back to New Zealand for even a weekend or something, I'll just stay with my friends. You know what I mean? And my family's like, "What are you doing?" You know? But at the same time, they'd be like, "Oh yeah, that's just him." You know, so yeah, man. But and my sisters, we hated each other. But you know, as we grew up, man, yeah, that completely changed. You know, and yeah. But yeah, it's part of life. Uh, my older sister, she graduated a few years back. She graduated a few years back. So I have my sister living in Auckland and my brother. At the same time, we don't keep in touch as much, you know, I guess as I do with my friends. You know? Yeah. I guess. But yeah. And then playing football, and I came back one more time for contract in Central Coast, and then yeah, I landed in church. I used to say I fell in church. I fell in church. Yeah, but I landed in church because I guess I jumped there. I jumped because as I came back, you know, things fell over for me in New Zealand, relationship-wise and that kind of stuff. And then I came back and I just thought to myself, I got to change. But like, you know, best advice I got given by one of my, and I'm sure a lot of other people have said it to me. It's like, and this is something that I use in my player profiles. What's the best advice someone's ever given to you? And my one is, don't be a dickhead all your life. And that's just honest, you know. And it's not so much the words, like, you know, the best advice. It's the timing as well, you know. And it's sort of like my mate Des, he just said to me, "Silly, don't be a dickhead all your life." And maybe he was joking about it, maybe he wasn't. But at that time, I just thought to myself, I got to hold my head in. You know? Otherwise, these things that, you know, that I guess I, you know, professed over my life, or other people said, oh, I'm going to be dead or I'm going to end up in jail, you know. It's going to happen. So I had to change, you know, and it came at a late age. It came at a late age as well. So yeah, man. Yeah, and yeah, so still trying to walk, you know, I guess people will say trying to walk the right path. I'm just trying to walk.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to walk, man. So whatever path I'm going down, if there's something that's not right for me, like that brick, I'm gonna move it, you know what I mean? And just keep,
Yeah.
keep working. Yeah, so yeah, man, and yeah, I'm blessed with my kids. I I love what I do, you know, the work, and I guess it's never been about money, you know. But yeah, I'm still here. I guess with the changes that happen in my life, very very challenging, and yeah, I guess when you go through things, man, you really get the full understanding of what like depression is, you know, of what suicidal thoughts are, you know, of what loneliness is, you know. I guess each to their own, and how they, you know, how they process it, you know, and, you know, I guess the outcome of what it is. But yeah, yeah, I got a lot to give, and my time's not now, you know. Yeah, I guess maybe a bit too deep, but I don't care. I've been sitting at the park. I've had moments where I'm sitting at the parks and the trees are talking to me, telling me to get a rope, you know. I remember sitting at my uncle's place and talking to my cousin on the phone. I had to call someone because it was like I was looking at the hose and it was sort of like, get the hose, hook it up to the exhaust pipe, get sleep in the car. You know, it's like, damn. Yeah. And yeah, it's not good, man. But like when you can withstand it, you know, and just, you know, like I guess part of it is like knowing who you are, you know, and not everyone has, you know, has faith in something. But like, you know, if you know who you are, man, then you know where you're going, you know, and like that's the motto for this. That's the motto for my Pacific Base program. If you know who you are, then you know where you're going. And I just have to keep reminding myself of these things, all these quotes, or all these lines, or all these acronyms that I come up with. You know, I can't just say it. I have to display it. You know what I mean? I can't just talk it. I have to walk it. You know, and in those times, all these things were like, you know, don't be a dickhead all your life. Okay, cool. I'm gonna stop doing that. You know, if you know, like if you know who you are, you know where you're going. And I'm not going in that direction. That direction's not for me. I'm not going to the trees. I'm not going to a car. You know, I need to stand strong. You know, and yeah. And I've been listening to people like different podcasts and stuff, and like I get inspired, man. Because there's so many people out there that a lot of people think they're all good. But they know the stuff that they go through, man, you know. And it's been tough. Especially I'll turn up to school one day, and it's sometimes, you know, coming from so many thoughts attacking you, and just stepping in the classroom and going, "Hey guys, how are you, man? Maybe you had a good week," you know. And it's not been plastic. It's not been fake. Someone said to me, you know, fake it till you make it. Oh, I've heard that before, you know. And like, I really disagreed with it. And then someone else shared and said, faith it till you make it, you know. And that's it, man. You're really walking faith and not by sight, you know. Take that step forward, especially if you don't know, you know what's ahead, you know. But like, yeah, man. Wow. Listen, you got me, Josh. You got me, man.
Hey.
You got me, man. I'm just like, damn.
Hey, man. But all I'm gonna say is this: like I've been doing podcasting for like over a year, right?
Yeah.
I've been doing it for over a year. In terms of being a podcast host, I've been doing it for probably roughly 8 months.
Yeah.
You know, 7 to 8 months. And this has probably been the first time where I didn't have to do much. I actually didn't have to do much, right? all I did was I just sowed the seed, and all I did was just listen, man. And you know what? Like, just listening to you and listening, like, I listened thoroughly. And like I was listening the whole time, and I'm like, how am I able to still concentrate? Like, how am I still able to focus? And I'm like thinking to myself, it's like, no. The moments, so for me, right, like I'll use Impact Podcast Show like as an example. People don't realize how difficult it is to be a podcast host, let alone running a podcast show. And so, you know, for me to just listen in, I'm like, how am I able to do this? It's like, Josh, because you've been training for this. All the previous podcast episodes that you've been doing have pretty much brought you to this moment where you can actually actively listen to him the whole time. Like, people don't realize, for those that are watching this or listening to this still to this time, like, Joe, you spoke for like a good 40 minutes. Like a good 40 minutes. And for you, right, let's be real here, right? For you, you're probably saying to yourself, bro, I feel like that was like 2 minutes. But what I want to do right now is I want to just pull a bit out. You know, I want to pull a bit out just to, I guess, help the people out to know, like, man, that was a lot of stuff. And it was really good. That was like amazing stuff. And I guess I want to pull, I guess, some takeaways that I got that can not only just help yourself, but also help the people out there listening. You know, one thing that I got, you know, just from, you know, your upbringing is understanding. You know, just really focusing on being understood. And you know, one book I read in college, it was called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. And one of the habits they talk about in terms of what successful people do really well is seeking to understand and then to be understood. And the cool thing about, you know, your story is that's pretty much the opposite. It was pretty much the opposite. You know, you weren't in a place of understanding. You weren't actually in a place of seeking to understand. To me, it sounded to me that Joe was in a place where he wanted to just be understood. And so what he was doing is he's looking everywhere. He was like, I'm just going to go to my mates and like, even though I'm thinking about it, I'm like, probably that's the reason why Joe's so creative. It's because you need to look at creative ways to find a way to be understood, as opposed to, you know, really seeking first to understand, you know, the other people or your father or, you know, mom or even your sisters, you know, knowing that you had beef, like you had beef together growing up. And I'm like, man, how important is understanding, you know, just being able to understand, but most importantly, to be understood, because like, let's be real here. If Joe understood, you know, his father, if Joe understood what, you know, when he was at school, what teachers were telling him, he'll probably be he'll probably be in a different position as to where he is now. But if I think about myself, I'm like, I wouldn't have met Joe if he didn't go through that, you know, or I wouldn't have met Joe if I wouldn't be doing the job that I'm doing right now if it wasn't for, you know, someone like Joe or just you know, you just coming into the school and just kind of being available. You know, there's a couple of sayings that I get from this whole podcast episode that you've kind of taken over, which I love, you know, is the first thing I think about is complexity is the enemy of execution, right? Complexity is the enemy of execution. So what does that pretty much mean? Complex things, if you keep things complex, it's literally going to kill you, right? Like, but if you keep things simple, right? And that's why I always say to people, just keep things simple. Like, if you want to create something, make sure that it's simple to do. It's like, make it so simple to the point where it's so hard for you to fail. You know, and that was one thing I was thinking about in terms of your story. Is it's all about that, you know, just keep your things simple. Even like things like creating acronyms, you know, everyone's like to me, oh, like you like doing acronyms. You're always about acronyms. Like, bro, not gonna lie, I'm probably the prince of acronyms. The king's right here. The king's right here. He's on the other side. He's the podcast special guest. But that was one thing that I was thinking about. Just to, I guess, summarize this whole whole of your story is just, man, complexity is the enemy of execution. All you want to do is keep it simple. That was the first thing. The second thing I think about for you is it is what it is.
Yeah.
It is what it is. There's meme going around where they just say, yeah. Hey?
Yeah. I really felt that when I said it.
Yeah.
When people say something, they say it and it's like something that they've said or just usually say. But for me, it was sort of like I understood it when I said it. It is what it is, man.
Legit. And so that was another thing that I was thinking about, just like, listening into your story, I'm like, man, it is what it is. You can't do nothing about it. You can't change the past. But what you can do is you can change the future. You can change where you're heading. And so that was another saying that I was like, getting through, just to make it kind of a lot more simpler for those out there that are listening. It's like, man, keep things simple, be in a place of understanding, because like that's probably the root, the root issue is just understanding, being able to, I guess, accumulate information or hear things, because obviously that was something that you struggled with, growing up. And so, but I guess the real biggest thing that I've learned today from this podcast is that this is probably the first time I haven't actually had to do anything. It was just an opportunity for you to open up. But I guess I do got a question just to, I guess, add on to everything that you mentioned is, knowing that you shared that whole thing now, which went for like 30 to 40 minutes, which I love. Is this like the first time for you that you've had an opportunity just to voice all this out?
It's the first time in a long time. But like it's the first time in a long. I guess it's the first time where I've understood it. You know what I mean? And because it's not a grudge. It's not something that. It's something that I want to share now. It's not something I want to share because it's about love. It's about growth. It's about moving forward. Before, I guess. Oh yeah, this is what happened, man. And he was, and this man, I'm still breaking. I'm not breaking anymore. You know what I mean? And like, I guess, even I've taken that, when I understood that, and whatever happened with me and my marriage, I understand that now too, that I'm not breaking about that. You know what I mean? I just, it's just, I'm happy to share. And to be honest, Josh, after talking to that lawyer today, I was gonna say, can we do it another time? Because I was thinking my emotions are gonna be everywhere, but it's really helped me, it's really helped me to open up, and it's really helped me to open up. So I'm keen to share, man. So. But at the same time, there's so much more to it. I guess there's just a bit of it, So, I'm very lucky because a lot of the times, I could have died. A lot of times, worse things could have happened, but like you can understand that God has a plan for you, and everything that you go through is like it's going to be a part of the future for you, And it's the thing, especially with kids, you can't bubble wrap them, man. You know what I mean? They need to learn on their own. Sometimes, all the time, we just need to be there, and support and just have that faith, But this is this is cool, man. This is cool, but at the same time, if this was me before, I'll be in the back of my mind, and it comes up a little bit, but it's sort of like, shame. All those people are going to know about this. All those people are going to be judgmental about. Like, I'm like, I didn't care.
Hey, but if you think about it, it's a different I don't care. If you think about it, like the I don't care that little Joey, little Joseph was going through, growing up is a completely different I don't care to the like the Joe Tao or the JT that we're talking to right now. I feel like the I don't care that you have now is like, I don't care about, I guess, myself. It's like I feel like the story that I have in me can actually help other people. And that's actually like the whole sole purpose, or I guess the real root behind this podcast. Like, I'm always like, I come in unexpected. I say to myself, you know what, just be open ears. And there's so many stories that I get out of this podcast where I'm just like, man, I'm so grateful that I do this. There is not one podcast that I do when I'm like, oh, that was boring. Like, all of it is literally like guys and girls just sharing about, things that they never had an opportunity to share. And I'm like, okay, that is the reason why I do this. Like, that is the reason why, because all I do is like, I'm wanting to create a platform for other people to share their story, because it needs to be shared, right? Everyone has a story. And I'm always wanting to provide them to share their story. And it's like, what a way to do it, just by having a conversation. Like, let's be real here. If you ended up doing your own podcast show, would you have ever shared about that? Probably not. Like, you probably wouldn't have been as I guess safe or as comfortable enough to open up. And I also do want to acknowledge you for actually, still saying yes. Still jumping on. Before we done this podcast episode, me and Joe were just having a chat, and I said to myself, you know what, I'm still grateful that he's still pulling through, because at the end of the day, we all carry things, we all carry things, behind the scenes. And what we did is we're both carrying things, behind the scenes. But what we do is we're kind of like not letting it go completely, but we're just letting it sit at the door. And we're like, you know what, we're just gonna let it sit there for a bit. We're gonna do this podcast, and then we're gonna go back, and then we're gonna deal with it, And what I want to do is I also want to kind of put a disclaimer out there. If you're listening to this and you're getting fully impacted, or you can actually relate to things, because he did mention things about depression and even suicide. Like, make sure that you guys seek help. Make sure that you guys like I'm fully open. I am doing my own thing. I am very prevalent on social media, so you guys are more than welcome to reach out. But this is the reason why we do this. This is the reason why we do the podcast, because these stories are needed to be heard. And so I want to say, man, I really acknowledge you for being open and transparent. You did have the choice, and you made the choice to do that. But I already know that there are people out there probably listening to this saying, you know what, I actually don't respect him. I actually honor him. Like, I honor Joe for sharing this, because no one knows this, right? Like, no one knows the struggle that you went through. And so I guess what I want to do right now is I want to get into it. I want to, like, we did talk like heavily about your story, and you shared real thoroughly, and gave pretty much an essay, an essay of your life story. And I guess what I want to do, just like every story, there's always I guess a bumpy ride, right? There's a bumpy ride that we all go through. And so I guess the question that I want to ask you right now is, what would you say is the biggest setback that you have gone through in terms of your life? Like, what would you say is the biggest setback or struggle that you went through?
The biggest setback, jeez. To be honest, man, like they're all pretty much the same. Like, to be honest, they've impacted me, and I guess an impact is a certain impact, because I guess when you get impacted, then you shift. You know what I mean? Then you're not heading in the direction that you were originally trying to head into. So I guess the biggest would be, just yeah, to be honest, like my marriage has come to an end. And that impacted me in a certain way, but I guess at a different stage in my life as well. And just dealing with it in a certain way. But like I guess I really learned myself. I really learned a lot about myself and how I handled it. I guess you say adversity really reveals a person to themselves. And it did. But at the same time, like I said, I had to figure out what's my way back up, and it was just reminding myself of those things. If you know who you are, you know where you're going. You know what I mean? Strong minds and strong hearts. Because I guess that smash, it was there, but it came from it's not just a name I went through it. I remember the night where I was sitting at the parking. Those trees were like, they were just like talking to me, saying, "Hey, go get a rope." And you know what I did? I left there and I went to the gym. I went to the gym and I pumped the shit out of whatever was in front of me.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it really sort of helped me, it gave me smash, strong minds and strong hearts, and that's sort of like the physical, training sort of helped me overcome that, and it's but like at the end of the day, it's sort of like it was a different kind of thing. I guess every impact that happened in my life sort of prepares you for the next one. Yeah, I guess it's everything that happens. If you should equip you, maybe, but I guess it would do if you have the understanding and be able to, deal with it in the right way, in the best way. Because who knows, as much as we can set up and do our best, who knows what's going to happen tomorrow? You know what? Someone said this last night, and I loved it, man. You can always try and prepare a pretty picnic, but you can never predict the weather. And that fits in really well, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but whatever happens tomorrow, hopefully what you've gone through has prepared you to be able to withstand it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And it's just a simple thing as well. There's always tomorrow. It's a new day tomorrow. Let's start again. But I guess when you say setback, it has set back my family. But at the same time, sometimes we need that setback. Otherwise we're going to continue on the same, tripping over the same brick. Tripping over the same brick, man. And instead of picking yourself up, pick up the lessons, man. So we need this. We need this setback sometimes. Yeah. But as much as we try and prepare ourselves, sometimes the wind blows a bit harder, and the earth shakes a bit stronger, so I hope I answered your question. But I guess on that, coming to what I was shared with tonight. I was talking to someone before I spoke to you, and I guess everything can relate to this. Josh, I'm going through my Bible. I don't even know where it is.
All good.
So you just got to give me a minute, man. But
yeah, it's all good. It's all good. But I guess at this point, while Joe's looking for it, I want to just, for those that are listening to this right now, and if you're tuning into this, like, just always know that there's always hope. There's always hope. Whether it's your friend, whether it's your family, just just always look for a moment to seek out. I've gone through a similar stage with what Joe's gone through. Had those moments of suicidal thoughts and depression, and really feeling anxious. But and I guess for me, not just being a podcast host, but what I do outside, I've actually created this program, which I think I wouldn't say it's a program, but it's a club. And I think it's something that Joe Tal would love to jump in, but it's called the 5 a.m. Club. And we're just kind of pretty much building a community of, like-minded people that are just wanting to do something in common, which is pretty much wake up early, and get things done before the before the day starts. And, for me, that's what's helping me right now. I get to help other people out there that are struggling. But it's not just them struggling with waking up, but I've met constant people. It's only been a weekend, and I've met so much people who are saying to me like, "Hey, like I'm finding it hard to go to sleep," and it's like, "Oh, I'm having anxiety levels." And so these things are serious, right? These things like depression, anxiety, they are serious, and I just encourage you guys to just seek out for help. And so, yeah. But hey, Joe, I'm loving this. I'm full loving this podcast. I love what you're doing and you're sharing, and I'm guessing right now, you do have something planned to, I guess finish us up, eh? But yeah, I'll give it to you, man. What is it that you want to share to us?
I guess it's Philippians. So I was talking to someone, and he shared it with me, and it's funny because it's Philippians 3:13, and 3:13 is my birthday. And
wow.
It's so suiting. But it says here, "No, dear brothers and sisters, I have not achieved it, but I focus on the one thing, forgetting the past and looking forward to what lies ahead." Yeah, and that's what I'm trying to do. I guess it's not so much that I'm forgetting the past. I'm taking the past and in the things that I've learned, and I'm moving. I'm moving forward, and it's sometimes I have my days where I think, man, I'm not moving. It's slow.
Yeah,
but I just gotta put one foot in front of the other, and just keep moving forward in faith, and but at the same time, have a plan in what I'm doing, and that. But yeah, I guess there's so much more that I love to share. There's a whole lot of goodness and stuff. But I guess for anyone, it's always easier to see the negatives than the positives. I guess it is for me. But this thing called One Love, yeah. So One Love is something that I've had with me ever since I was a young boy. I had an auntie who came and lived with us, and she brought a record. The little, I don't know if they were 12-inch records or whatever, but and there was One Love, Bob Marley, and there was a record player there in the garage, and I played it, and I played it, and I played it, and I played it. Yeah, and I fell in love with the song, but at the same time, it was catchy and it sounded cool, but I didn't understand it. And then as I grew, I gained understanding of it. And it's like when Bob Marley says, give thanks and praise to the Lord, and and let's get together and feel all right. And to me, that's the first two commandments. So, love the Lord your God with all your heart and your soul and all your strength, and love your neighbor as you would yourself. And that's what he was saying. And I've come to understand that if we can abide by those first two, all the other commandments will fall into place. Yeah. So that's it for me. One Love. I guess the song, the meaning, and like he says as well, there's no hiding place from the Father of creation. He knows you. He has a plan for you. And set up for you. You got to do your part too. So yeah. and I've put that into one of mentoring. One of mentoring is business. Yeah, I don't like this words. Say.
Yeah, me too. Don't worry. Don't worry.
It's like I'm trying to talk politics or something.
Hard.
Like, I always sort of I have a little gig. It's called, one of mentoring. And it's not being, trying to be humble or whatever. It's just, I look at it as more than that. And one love. But at the same time, I'm working on something new called One Love Culture, and I guess culture is, everything has a culture. Every club, every school, every country, that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm not trying to create it. I guess it's just trying to share. It's already there. It's just that oneness. But we find it hard to be one. But in order for us to be one, we need to love each other. So yeah. I look forward to what's ahead. But at the same time, it's still a grind. Just because I shared what I shared, in my upbringing, it doesn't mean I'm still not going through stuff now.
Yeah, 100%.
Everything was perfect. I know I reached my destination and that kind of stuff. But yeah, I still wake up and I still have that choice whether to grind or sleep. You know what I mean? Just and I'm not perfect, and I'm still making a mess. But at the same time, I'm trying to be better today than I was yesterday. I'm trying to be better than I was today. But yeah, Josh, if you don't have any other questions, man, yeah, man. I don't know how to finish it. I guess what, and honestly, that's one thing that let's just being honest. Is like I've done other stuff, not like podcasts, but I struggle to finish. As in, how do I end this? Am I meant to carry it on? What do I say? And it's funny because I've spoken at a few things and. I always just say, okay, God bless, one love. Yeah. I guess in saying that, I look at it as because I still got more to share. So however it is, I'm grateful for the opportunity, but I'm here, willing to share. If anyone, if you see this and it sort of shook your world, and you got some questions, man. I'm keen. Holla, man, and let's connect and we'll communicate and let's help each other be the best that we can. So yeah. Thank you, Josh.
No, thank you. Honestly, like this is probably like a type of podcast that I've never gone through. Real, like I wouldn't say intense, but real deep. Like I guess we just went right in the deep end and never came up. We're just like some people what they do. Some podcasts, right? Just be, just give you a bit of context on how like usually the podcasts go. It's like it'll go like just normal, and then after that it will, a bit of a high, then we'll go low, and then what we do is come back up. But this type of podcast was just straight, and then it was just down, and we're just cruising down, which is totally fine. During this podcast episode, I was thinking to myself, and I was like, no. This is why I do podcasting. I don't mind the spontaneous, switches, switch up. I've already got like a structure to go by, but I'm like, man, if it's flowing, it's flowing. As you mentioned, while everyone's like, focusing on, choosing a path or walking, walking along the path, you're just walking. You're just focusing on taking those steps while other people are trying to figure out, I don't know which way to go. It's like, well, I'm just focusing on walking. I'm focusing on continuing to take steps and, you know what? I think that's I guess the finish off of this podcast is just taking a small step is better than taking no steps at all. When you're going when you're going through a place of depression and anxiety and stress and all this, negativity, what happens? What happens to us? We just stop. Instead of us taking a step, we just stop and we stay stagnant and we just hold on to, I guess, the grudge or the thoughts or the negative thoughts or us feeling not worthy or saying to ourselves, I don't know who I am. And for you to actually say, you know what, I'm just going to focus on, like, I haven't chose the path yet, or I haven't even focused on the path. I've just focused on walking. And I feel like someone's getting like encouraged, like not just by what I said, but just through this whole podcast, because I've actually never heard a podcast like this before, where it was so intense. So, like, honestly, like, we didn't have to have all the flashy lights, even though we got our lights, our actual lights, shining. I feel like at the end of the day, I've actually got a note up here. It says, you are called to be the light in areas of darkness, and that's what I believe this podcast is all about. We all have our darkest places, but that's how we get to shine in the light. This is our way of shining. Not literally, with our flashing lights like being on right now, but literally us. We are called to be the light. And so, Joey, I want to say thank you, man. Thank you so much for taking out your time. I am going to wrap it off like this, like finish off on this end. And I guess at this point, knowing that, you've encouraged us with everything and all that stuff, like, if there are people out there that are listening to this saying, man, I really want to connect with this, this Joe Tao, and I really relate to his story. What's the best way that they can communicate to you?
Yeah, man. Like, I just, onelovementoring@gmail.com is my email. Also, oneloveculture77@gmail.com. And same with, on Instagram as well. One Love Mentoring and, One Love Culture 77. So yeah, thank you, Josh, for allowing me to come here, man. And oh man, one thing is like I feel sometimes is like you get to that point where I just need to get away. I need to go somewhere. You know what I mean? Either go to the mountains or I just go away to the country. I just need to go somewhere overseas or something. But like this is it. This is it as well. It's just letting out some, just letting out whatever you might call it, man. Just if you're full, you gotta let it out, man. Whether it be on a podcast or just talk to someone, man. And like, yeah, that's just one, massive encouragement, man. Like, we're going through this stage right now, it's been for a while with the depression and and suicide and that. Just talk, man. Talk to someone, reach out, and I know it's hard, but yeah. Well, before we go, can I share a story? Just a quick story.
Yeah, totally, all good.
Okay, so I was at I ran a few workshops for a youth group, and they invited me to the graduation and to hand out some certificates for them, but at the same time, I just seen this opportunity because the parents were there of all these kids, maybe about 20 kids, and the parents were there. And I just thought to myself, this opportunity to share something, because something was on my heart. And as I was sitting there, the back of my mind, I was like, something was saying, shut up, just sit there. You don't want to hear what you got to say. And I was like, hey? And then I just thought, no, I have to go and say something. And it just kept, saying, shut up, just sit there. No one wants to hear what you got to say. You're not worthy of being heard. That kind of stuff. Yeah. And then, and then I went up and I said, oh, can I get a couple of minutes? I just want to share something. And they're like, oh yeah, cool. And then the kids, I was thinking I was meant to tell the kids, but then the kids got called to go to the back and prepare for their dance. And as they called them up, they say, oh, can all the kids get to the back and prepare the dance? Then they called me up and I thought, oh, damn. So I went up and then I just shared with them. I said, awesome for the kids to turn up, the last 2 months, every Friday they could have been somewhere else and that kind of stuff. And and I said, I want to share a story about my daughter. When she was 3 years old, we were sitting in the car, and she goes to me, Dad, I spoke with my little eye son in the beginning with Jay, and I go, oh, Jojo, her mum's name. And she goes, no, Dad. I said, oh, Jets. And she goes, her brother's name. And she says, no, Dad. And then I go, it's got to be Joe, my name. And she's like, no, Dad. And I just thought, damn. And then she says to me, she goes, do you want a clue, Dad? And I said, yeah, I'll have a clue. And she goes, you're sitting on it. And I said, a chair. And she goes, yes, Dad, well done. I knew you could get it. And everyone in the hall, they were cracking up, eh? They were cracking up. And then I thought to myself, but was she wrong? You know? And then they were like, and then they thought about it, and they were like, no. I think they were just, they were trying to give the right answer, sort of thing. And then I said, you know, I was sitting over there in that seat, and it was like something was on my heart, and I needed to share. And it was this, and the story. And I said, you know, I was telling myself, shut up, sit down, don't get up. They don't want to hear what you got to say. And I was thinking to myself, damn. And I said, you know, we're going through a time of depression, a lot of depression and suicide, and like, you know, a lot of our people are taking their lives. And I was like, and that's, you know, all that stuff came from somewhere. You know what I mean? And it came from being told that, you know, I'm not ready, or being told that I'm dumb, being told that I don't know, I'm not, you know, no one wants to hear what I got to say, you know, and that stuff still, as a 43-year-old man, that stuff still sticks with me, you know, and it's still there. If I was to tell Dali, my daughter, that she was wrong, you know, what would that do to her? You know what I mean? And not just what I say, but how I say it.
Yeah.
Like, damn, it would have busted her confidence, you know, it would have put, you know, she probably wouldn't tell me a joke anymore, wouldn't she, anything like that, you know, but yeah, it's just comes down to, you know, our kids, they're pot plants, you know, and they grow because of what we put into them, you know, and like how we look after them, how we nurture them, you know, and like we don't want to be putting weeds in there, we don't want to be telling them, because the most common thing that every kid gets told, especially Polynesian kids, is like, no, don't, you know, awa, tuia, you know, soya, you know, and it's like, you know, we get told not to do things, we're not allowed to talk at a certain time and this kind of, and that's part of the culture, you know, some people might say, you know, but I guess, you know, it is what it is. What we put in is what we do, you know what I mean? So let's put in some goodness. And things like that always keep me mindful, you know, every time I'm you know, engaged with a kid, you know, and it's, yeah, I just always seeing the kid beyond the situation. I don't see them, whatever they did now is, okay, that's what they did, but I see you beyond what become a firefighter. That's how I see you. Not just a firefighter, but the best firefighter, you know, because we have to believe in them, you know, in order to help them believe in themselves. Yeah. So, yeah, just wanted to share that.
Nah, that's hectic. Because it is a story that I was listening to, and I was like, nah. I was like, nah, he's gonna say that. He's gonna say that. Oh man, that story. Yeah. Right.
But you know what? It's really, like I said, Dali's very creative, and that's just a creative mind. And if I was to shut that creative mind down, wow, you know, just by a simple way of saying something, you know, it's like, yeah. So yeah, man. But thank you again, Josh. You know, I really appreciate this time to be able to breathe. I feel light, man.
Yo.
Yeah, man. So you know when people say light work? Yeah, I feel light work, man. that was some heavy stuff, but you know, I put that down. It's out now, and I feel good. So yeah, thank you for the opportunity, man. Because as much as you know, I'm willing to share to help others. You help me, you know. So grateful, man.
No, honestly, thank you so much. You know, I don't say it lightly in terms of time. You know, like I do value my time, and I know that you do too. And just for us, just to sit down, man to man, have a conversation, like, this could possibly be, sparking conversation for other people, saying, what, like, I probably didn't understand anything that they said or what they were talking about, but just watching two men talk, and talking real deep, they're probably like, what, I want to do the same thing. So, we're unsure, but hey, guess what? It is what it is, right? It is what it is. But yeah, I am going to wrap this up. I'm going to wrap up this podcast. I want to say, Joe, thank you so much for tuning in and jumping on, and also just, really allowing yourself to open up and just be truly transparent. I know that not only other people that are, watching or listening to this podcast, getting impacted, but I'm getting impacted, we do have a conversation, once every 2 weeks, which is really good. But this one was a lot different. It wasn't really just focusing just on ourselves, but most importantly, focus on impacting the one. That is our mission behind the Impact Podcast Show, is just focusing on that one person, and just always focusing on that one person, having that in their mind. And so I guess, guys, I am going to wrap it up from here. Joe, thank you so much for jumping on.
No, man, thank you, brother. Thank you, Josh. Yeah. Hey, with you this Monday, are we?
Yo. We are on. And so that is all that we got, fam. Thank you for listening. For those out there listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and thank you to those out there that are watching this. If you guys are wanting to connect with Joe Tao, we will put the links down below to his email and also his Instagram. But if you guys go into our Instagram page, you'll see that he'll be displayed and promoted on our page there too. So make sure you guys follow him too, in terms of his, One Love Culture and One Love Mentoring. Yeah, so those are the two Instagram page, and we'll have that all sorted out for you. So that is it. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you guys in the next one.